Welcome to the Jessica Papineau Show, Living Aligned, Styled with Purpose, the podcast where transformation begins and your next level life is waiting. I am Jessica Papineau, founder of CSJ Styling, and I believe that when you align how you present yourself with who you truly are, magic happens. Your confidence expands, opportunities open, and you step into the life you were meant to live, not just with style, but with intention and purpose. But here's the truth. Most women don't even realize what's holding them back. They feel stuck, second-guessing themselves, waiting for permission to shine. I've been there. I've seen what happens when women stop playing small and embrace their full potential. That's why I do what I do, because I know that transformation isn't just about clothes. It's about stepping into your power, owning your presence, and feeling completely aligned with the woman you're becoming. And that's exactly what this podcast is here to help you do. Each week, I'll be your guide, sharing insights, strategies, and mindset shifts that unlock the confidence you've been craving. You will hear from powerhouse women who've transformed their lives, practical steps to elevate your presence, and the little-known secrets to showing up fully everywhere you go. Hello, everyone. I am just so excited for you all to be here today with Erika and I. We're going to have an incredible conversation on the Living Aligned, Styled with Purpose podcast. Erika, I am just beyond, we have been waiting for this. I'm like, I need you on my podcast. And I'm just so excited that you're finally here, Erika.
I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so honored because the alignment, when I think the word aligned, I'm like, we were truly aligned, and I can't wait for you to tell the fourth floor elevator story.
Yes. And we met at the Aligned, at Align, at Align Summit. Yes. So I want to start by introducing this amazing woman. And again, like the alignment between the two of us is just incredible. And we were meant to do some big things together. So Erika is a dynamic leader. She mentors and uplifts women. She balances the role of a director, 20 years as a director of performance systems, as a civil engineer. She's also a mom of two and married, and she's simultaneously doing multiple businesses here. She's a book writer. She's a podcaster of Grit, Grace, and Glitz that is hitting a milestone right away of 101 episodes. I've been on her podcast. Incredible.
150.
150. I'm sorry. I got it totally wrong. 150.
I couldn't leave out the other 49.
No, you can't. No, you can't. I am just so excited to have you here speaking into the women that I know are just like on the edge of their seat, waiting to find out all about you, Erika. So there are so many incredible things about what you do, your mission, your purpose, what you're putting out there in the world, how you're inspiring and uplifting so many women to be the next version, best version of themselves. But where I really want to begin with you, like, I just want to dive right in. I would love to talk about what led you, because you have always been this high performing, achieving woman, like working in this industry of being an engineer in the construction business with the men and the whole thing. And now you're continuing to do that, but you've brought in, all this other work that's empowerment and, really helping women step into their power. So I just would love to kind of go back for a minute and have you share, how did this all transpire and why did you incorporate in some of this other empowerment in women and this other business and mission that you have going on?
Jessica, I love this question. And I just want to thank you for honoring me and having me on this beautiful podcast just to share this story. We all have those moments. We all have moments in our life where we look back and we're like, that was it, right? It's like Gwyneth Paltrow and the sliding door, right? Like if we went right or we went left, if we took the train, if we didn't get off the train, right? And sometimes those moments are actually some of the hardest moments. Those are the hardest setbacks that we look back months, years, decades later, and we're like, it was all a setup for X, Y, and Z. So I'll rewind and start back on June 15th of 2022. You know, a day really like no other. A day that, you know, I expected to drive to work and leave my kids with a sitter. My husband was in Kansas City in a big sales meeting. I was going to a networking meeting that morning, and I remember changing my appointment with my VP from 10 to 10:15. I had texted my admin and said, "Hey, can we push this off by 15 minutes?" And I always say that because I always think about every moment that happened that day that led to this next moment. And as I drove to work after that meeting and pulled into the parking space where I had worked for 10 years, Jessica, I remember taking that last sip of lemon water with the Himalayan sea salt in it and looking over and knowing that I had all my belongings to grab, my lunch, my bag, my, you know, everything else in between. And I sat there for a moment and looked at my phone to make sure my meeting was moved, took that last sip of water, a deep breath, opened the door, went back to grab my stuff, and as I turned back, there he was. You see, he was a man I had never seen before. And so quickly I said, "Sir, can I help you?" And the words just fell off my tongue, but as soon as that last word came off, he punched me straight in the face. He grabbed me by my hair. He threw me to the asphalt pavement. And he beat me once, twice, three times. I wasn't even counting anymore because I really felt like all I was a rag doll to him. And I tried to scream. I tried to yell. I tried to get away. I've always been really strong and I did everything I could. And unbeknownst to me, he was actually an ex-boxer. He didn't like the way that I was probably reacting. And the next thing I remember is seeing the crease of his elbow come underneath my throat. And although it was probably milliseconds that action took place, it felt like a lifetime knowing this was probably my last breath on earth. The last time I got to be the mom to Drew and Adeline, the last time I could be a wife, the last time I would probably ever be in my work parking lot. And I just remember thinking, please, God, don't do this to me. And next thing I know, my world went dark, completely dark. And luckily, again, by the act of something so much higher than me, the will, the audacity, the adrenaline, I was able to actually come to consciousness again. And I just remember laying there and all the thoughts running through my head, feeling like there was an elephant on my chest, not knowing where I was or what I was supposed to do. And it's so crazy, that fight or flight moment that will come to your savior and come to your existence. And I got up on my feet. I looked over my shoulder. He was actually in my car. And I ran for help, not knowing if he would follow me, if he had a gun, if he would chase me, if I was going to make it to safety. But I remember running with everything I had and running into that building and screaming for help. And luckily, the police, the detectives, the ambulance, like everything happened. In the next 48 hours were an utter blur. Well, he ran by foot and started burying himself in the marshes close to my office building. The dogs and the drones got sent in. I got raced to a trauma hospital because they were really worried about my condition. So I was not even able to identify him. And yes, I was severely hurt. And he was actually caught. But what people don't know is that this man had been in prison for 12 years. He was let out in January of 2022. This happened in June of 2022. And he actually had assaulted 4 women the night before in Philadelphia. And he had actually raped a woman right before my incident. So this was a chain reaction. And I almost feel like, again, looking back at that moment, all of those poor victims that had to severely be assaulted and, unfortunately, taken advantage of. Yet, if it weren't for this sixth incident, I don't know if he would have been caught. And I had been to court with him 7 different times. I just finally got my final sentencing with him, and I will go to court one more time with the other victims. And it has been a whirlwind, Jessica, a whirlwind the last almost 3 years. But I will tell you, it was that moment, that punch,
Yeah.
that was the catalyst.
Oh, I can't even begin to imagine what that was like. I can't even begin to imagine it. And, I'm sure there've been, I don't know if you felt this way that, why me? Why did this happen? I'm sure you've played that in your head. But what you've done, how you've changed your life, and impacted so many other lives since then is just, it's incredible. It's incredible what you did with what most people call a setback, a really big setback, that you are calling it a setup for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And I so appreciate all of your words, but I truly believe it was an opportunity. It
Yeah.
was the doorway for me being able to feel that I could use that punch as a catalyst and realize that that punch, once I was okay and my
Yeah.
safety was okay, and I knew that, that he was, taken into the correctional facility, I knew it was almost an epiphany. Within
Mm,
the first 72 hours, I remember sitting in my gazebo with a huge hooded sweatshirt on. It was the middle of June, and tears rolling down my face, cuts all over me, my body just feeling bruised and battered, and hearing the giggles of my kids in the pool, who were 6 and 8 at the time, and being like, no, they are who need me to be strong. I cannot be weak right now. And it's not that I haven't had weak moments. And I'm not telling anyone just push it down or forget about it. I've done tons of therapy and I still work through it. But what I'm saying is there's something so much bigger that I knew could come out of that punch. And we've all had punches. So if you're listening to this podcast, don't compare, because I know you're already saying, well, I haven't had a punch like Erika. Please
mhm.
do not do that. You have had something in your life that has set you back. It could be a divorce. It could be a sick child. It could be losing a parent. It could be losing a pet. Like anything can set us back. So I'd ask us, just like we try to stop comparing and, stop the imposter syndrome, same thing. It's no one's story is easier or harder. It's just all our own story.
So once you went through, the initial few days, 7 days, weeks after, how did you begin to, number one, how did you begin to see the world? How, and kind of reframe things for yourself? But how did you begin to make these massive changes? Because you went through something so significant, so devastating, that you would think that that would, put someone in a space of not wanting to even leave their home.
Right.
But what you did instead of doing that, and I know I mean, I've experienced trauma, and I understand those fears, and, not
Yep.
certainly not what you experienced, but those feelings of, because there's that fight or flight, but then that frozen feeling, like, I don't want to take action. I don't want to move. I don't want to leave my house. I'm just terrified in my own body. But there's something in you that pushed you forward. And I just want to understand, because I want the listeners to really, because I'm sure people's minds are just blown, like, listening to this story. I'm sure, they're imagining that happening to them. They have children, all the things. And how were you able to, like, get through even physically, mentally, emotionally, but then build what you've built.
Mm.
Continue to stay in the space you're in of being an engineer and, doing the thing and construction and all of that, but then building several other businesses over here. And then taking this, what we may call setback, and making it a setup for you to create this massive impact. What were those steps?
Love this question. Now, I'm not saying it's prescriptive. So I don't want anyone to feel like, well, it needs to be on this time frame. It was my time frame, just like it's my story and it's your story. So, but there are three things that I think are really critical that I talk about in my TEDx. And one of that, the first one, was I needed to lean into the hard. I realized that so many other times I had dealt with trauma or setbacks, I repressed, I pushed down, I forgot about. And I'll tell you, one of my first therapy sessions, within days of this happening, the therapist made me do this analysis. And it was, she asked me a series of questions to describe a house.
Yeah.
Tons of different questions, but it was very interesting. When she asked me to describe my basement, I said that it was dark. I didn't want anyone to go down there. It was dirty. And I'm not saying that my basement's like that now, but I was like, when I just thought of a house, that there was a lot of, like, I said there was cobwebs down there. And she basically did this whole analysis and basically brought that back to that was where I was doing with past trauma and past of pressing it down, forgetting it, trying to avoid it because it was easier than dealing with it. And what I realized is the first step for any of us is we need to admit it. We need to lean into the pain because the pain and the fire is going to keep burning. It's either going to burn within us, around us, or through us. And at some point, in order to extinguish that and to move on, we need to be willing to admit it, to talk about it, and to make sure that we're not afraid to say, this happened to me. We can't be ashamed about it. We can't say, oh, coulda, shoulda, woulda. Like that day I played that scenario so many times in my head. Like, what if I didn't do this? If I didn't stay at that meeting longer? Stop. Yeah. Enough is enough. Like, we have to learn to lean into that pain. And the second thing, what I realized I was doing prior to this event, and what so many of your listeners I know already do, but I really encourage it to be a habit, is really make sure you're working on your mindset every day. It is a muscle. And what I didn't realize is when this incident happened to me, I had already been working and really strengthening that muscle. And so when the race happened, when the shotgun went off, and when I say the shotgun to the race, that I was ready because I had worked so much on my mindset. So if you are not spending the time there or enough time, find that time and defend that time. And the last thing is to be the light. What I realized was part of my healing was going to be sharing this story and to be the light for someone else. And that God gave me this to be that light and to shine that light on other people, to be an example of resilience, to be an example of an audacious woman. And I realized that the more I could share this story, I could give hope, I could give empowerment, and I could give people that light to say, I can get through my hard too.
Yes. I just think that that's one of the biggest things is, and I say this about my kids. Many people say this about, how we raise children, but like it's caught, not taught. Like we can all day long, right? We can say, these are the steps. This is the strategy. This is how you prepare your mindset. But when it's not just a talking of the talk, it's when you're walking the walk. Yes. It is when you have, instead of going around it or suppressing it, you move through it and it doesn't kill you, and other people see that it doesn't kill you and they see you rise up, they can imagine that it's possible for themselves.
Yes.
And, and I really think that is the biggest thing that you've done in terms of impact is you've allowed other women to realize that their pain and what they perceive as a setback is not going to kill them. And it's okay to lean in. It's safe to lean in. And I can't remember where I heard this, but it's like you can simultaneously have fear and pain and experience joy at the same time.
And think about anything hard that we've accomplished. Maybe it was, reading X amount of books or running the marathon or writing the book or quitting the job and getting whatever it is.
Yeah.
Those are the things we remember. And those are the things we're most proud of.
Yeah.
Right? Like those are the things that give you the ammunition. I always say the first cut's the deepest.
Yes.
So the first time you have to overcome something, it's going to be the hardest. But I promise you, it will get easier. And the next setback won't seem quite as difficult because I truly believe our pain is our purpose and our purpose to go out there and to be that light for other people.
And how amazing does it feel that you have moved through something? And of course, it never leaves us, right? I mean, we're human beings, but you've moved through something in such a way, again, that you know that it didn't kill you. It not only made you stronger, it made you experience life and see life in a different way and see the light all around you and experience and receive other women, gaining this impact from you. But in addition to that, really, oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought, Erika.
I think what you're asking me is really like, in addition to like all of that, like how did you just like step into that? Like,
yes,
I want to remind people too, Jessica, and just you and I have had some really heart-to-heart, beautiful conversations. And I believe that you were part of my purpose, like coming into my life that way and reminding me that there's a lot of times that I still have setbacks daily, weekly. Like, I don't want anyone to think that this is an uphill, like it's
I know.
here it goes.
Yes.
And you and I spoke about this before we got
we
on.
did.
And I think it's so important that we remind each other that, like, I've had a lot of wall kicking moments, like about other things, right? And this trauma still creeps back in and it still impacts me. But we talk about, okay, we have a tank every day. And are we having more positive than we are negative? Are we putting more good emotion versus that draining emotion every day? And at the end of the day, what does that debit card look like? And even if there's a fraction that you are in the green versus in the red, you're winning.
Yeah.
And I love telling even people on my team, like, today, if the best you can give is 60%, but you give all your 60%, you're giving 100% of yourself that day. We are not robots. We are not machines. We are not expected to show up 100% every day. You and I talked about just coming back from events and needing that rest and needing that time to let our mind just disconnect.
Yeah. And one of the things too is that it's like you're so in tune because you've done all this work. You're so in tune with your body, with your mind, and with your soul that you're paying attention. And I'm going to lead this to how we met, even because, you're paying attention to how you feel in your body, what your body needs, but then also looking out around you and you're seeing all the opportunities around you. And like, it's almost like a feeling of like energy, like who energetically or what energetically is feeling in alignment.
Yes.
And so, and I live in a very similar way. And I think, I connected with you before I heard your story. But once I heard your story, it just made so much more sense to me as to why we are so connected, because we both have experienced trauma in different ways and at different times in our life, but how we chose to like do the moving through it. And so I'm just going to leave that with, like, we met in the coolest way. We would never be doing this podcast together. We never would have, you never would have come into our mastermind, my mastermind, Aligned to Rise. We wouldn't have had the biggest hug when I saw you at Unstoppable. I wouldn't have been on your podcast. Like, we are going to do some, and there's so much more to come. There's so many big things. But so Eric and I are at an event, and of course, the name of the event is Align. Yes. And I literally, so I was tired that morning because we had already, I think it was like day 2, maybe.
Yes.
And like the first day was very intense and all the speakers. And I'm walking on the 4th floor where my room is, and I'm walking to the elevator. And I was very focused on, like, I'm thinking about the day and who's going to be the speaker on and all the things. And I
And I
go
think you
around.
had a lot of clients there too. You were trying to like make
I did.
more, and I was just coming from the gym, like, and I think we both had like 22 minutes before we were supposed to be
I
downstairs.
know. And so I'm going around the corner, you're coming out of the elevator, coming around the corner, and we didn't collide, but we were like passing each other. But literally, I like felt you. I look up, you look up, you had your coffee in your hand. And what did we even say? It was like, what did we even say? How did
I
we
don't
start?
know. It was just this energetic, and like I always say that when you feel that energy with someone else, like, take the time. Even if you're going to be late for the event, take the time to meet that person, because I truly believe we were aligned on that 4th floor. Because I don't even think I was staying on the 4th floor. I think I was dropping off something to someone. Like, honestly, like, I really believe
So
that it was like
funny.
going back to Gwyneth Paltrow and the sliding doors. Like,
Yeah.
I was meant to come off that elevator at that split second where you were meant to walk
Yeah.
into that foyer.
Yeah, and I literally, like, we were talking about our podcasts or something,
Yes.
but I don't know what it was. It was this energy, and as soon as we walked away from each other, we were like, "We're connecting." I
Yes.
remember us saying that.
Yes.
And then, I mean, I met other people as well, but I was like, "This girl is like, she's like a soul sister of mine. We're gonna have a good time together." So I wanted to share that story.
It's so beautiful. Like, when you really feel, and everyone is not going to be for you, and you are not going to be for everyone. But when you find those people that you feel that energy, and I know, Jessica, there is so much to come between the two of us, like in so many ways, whether we're cheering on tables for each other, or we're embracing each other in a hug, or we're meeting on the 4th floor, or we're running a business together one day, whatever that looks like. I always say, listen, there's such a reason that happened.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, I had to be on the 4th floor, which, as you know, fours are a thing for me. 4-leaf clovers. It reminds me of my grandmother. And you've got the
22.
22.
I always think of 4.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love it. So just another little sign that we were meant to be connected. Uh, so can you share with everybody a little bit more about what you're doing right now, what your mission is like over these
Yeah.
next, coming months, and what are these big things that you're stepping into and inspiring others to step into?
Love that. Love that question. So, a tip that I have for anyone that's listening to this is, this year I was very, very intentional. My word actually this year, I wanted it to be audacious because that's how I want to be thought. But I was like, no, I actually need my word to be peace. So,
Mm.
my word this year was peace. Because what I feel like so many probably listening to this, is we try to play whack a mole to so many things. And we feel like at the end of the year, we're like, missed that goal, didn't accomplish that, gave up on that. So this year, I made 3 distinct swim lanes. And I was like, I'm going to say no if it doesn't align or serve one of these swim lanes as part of my personal goals. Outside of being a mom and being a wife and like brushing my teeth and, the other things that you're like, paying taxes, like those type of things, right? And the first one was the alignment with my speaking. So I'm a keynote speaker. I speak all about, the audacity of meaningful connections, the audacity to be resilient, and the audacity to be you. And I speak on a lot of stages, especially in groups that are in male dominated industries like the construction industry. Two, I said, I have a calling that I need to host a summit or an event, or I didn't know even what it was. It was just in my heart that I needed to bring these powerful women together to create this audacious expansion, to come together just like you and I came together on the elevator and host an event in the greater Philadelphia area, which is on October 17th. And I am so excited for it because it's been on my heart and I know it was intended to serve. And that is truly the platform of it. And so if you're thinking about it, please, by all means, reach out to me. I would love to tell you more. And three, I'm actually writing my second book, but I feel like it's my first book because it's like I just feel so aligned with it. And it's actually all about your audacious expansion and how we can expand into the best version of ourselves. And it starts out with my story. For chapter 1 starts out with the story I just told you, and a lot of other stories in between that really, I hope, are the catalyst that inspire you. There's actually journal prompts at the end of every chapter to really make yourself expand. It's not just reading and closing the book and putting it on a shelf. It's saying, hey, what is the action I am going to take? Because I would rather you take messy action than take no action at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I've taken plenty of messy action, and I'm still standing.
Yes. This is what we talked about before our call as well. Or before our podcast when we were just talking about action, about the importance of action. And I think that's one of the most attractive things about you. Like, that's really where I feel like, oh yeah, she gets me. Like, I'm like her, and of course we like people that are like us, right?
Of course.
But really taking those action steps, like not just, saying, all the right things, like, not just talking about, and regurgitating what other people are saying in these rooms, but like actually taking those things and doing something with them every single day. Like, I see you on stories. I see what's happening. You're like, you get up earlier than me. I know you do. And you're walking, you're running, you're working out, you're doing all the things, you're priming your day. And then you've got a full-time job.
Yes.
This is where I'm like, I have not quite figured out the how of how you're doing all these things, but you're taking massive action. How do you do that? How do you do the full-time and then create this amazing space that you're creating outside of the other?
Well, you know what, Jessica, you know what comes to mind right away when you ask that question? And it's such a good question. We are all busy. And I
Yeah.
actually took the 4-letter busy word out of my vocabulary. And I say we are all abundant. We all have a lot of stuff going on. And we look at it as being abundant because you think about the majority of the world, they would wish and pray they would have a quarter of what we have. And I don't mean materialistic things, but just freedom and just so many things. We could go on, and I'm not going to like go down that swim lane, but we are so blessed. And abundancy doesn't mean everything is perfect. Believe me, I am not saying, oh, everything's like, this abundant crop, because there's a lot of crops, like when they're abundant, could be all like rotten tomatoes. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean like there's different season and different growth patterns, but we are abundant versus busy. And I truly believe that once we start looking at it through a different lens of abundancy versus busy, and create the action steps that are going to hold us accountable of how we're going to get there. And your time of when you defend it may be at 10 o'clock at night. For me, it's very early in the morning, but making that non-negotiable, right? There's certain appointments that you would never miss. Why are you going to miss the appointment on yourself to reach that goal?
And when you're so connected, this is what I love about what you're saying. When you're so connected and convicted and passionate about what your purpose is and the impact that you want to make, what I see, here's the difference that I see, and this is all based around time and busy and the push, because many of the women that are listening, that are part of, my Align to Rise community, that listen to this podcast, they are the high performing women. They want to be best version in every aspect, in every area of their life, from their business to their relationships to, their children, raising their children, all of it. They want to expand their thinking. But oftentimes I see some of these women, they are taking action, but the action feels hard. It feels like push, like your feet are in the mud and you're like trying to get through. But what I find, and this all has to do with alignment of where, and knowing where you're meant to be and being discerning, right, about what is in alignment for you, what your life's purpose is, like what lines up with that. That's why I love, the three things, like do they, does this decision match up with these three things that are most important to me right now, because you're so in alignment with them.
Yes.
But what I find, and I think this is why you're able to do it in such a graceful way, is that you are not in push every day. Yes, you have to take those action steps. They've become habits for you. And yes, it requires energy and all the things. But when you are in full alignment, as you are, and I see other women this way, like fully stepping into their power and doing the thing and showing up unapologetically, that what happens is from push, it goes to pull. And from pull, it goes to a different level. And I'm experiencing that level. And I think you are too. I call it a transcendence.
Mm.
We transform, and your experience that you've been through has transformed you. But once you take the continuous action in full alignment, you transcend. And you are living that out. And when you go on these stages, Erika, like I just saw you speak at Unstoppable. And when I watch you speak, it's not even everything you're saying. It's the energy and the feeling that the audience is getting when they're watching you. And we can feel that with you, that transcendence. That's the only way I can describe it.
And I think so many times we worry about everything we're going to say. And if you're a speaker on here, we remember about 7% about what people say,
Mm-hmm.
but 58% of it is our body. It's the way we're showing up, and people can feel that energy,
Yes.
right? So if you mess up the word, you forgot the line, the story got messed up, right?
Yes.
It's how people feel. It's your body language. It's your energy that you're showing up with. It's leaning into that. And like I said, taking that messy action. And people want you to be real.
They do.
People don't want to see a perfectly
They
scripted
do.
Hamlet on stage as a keynote speaker.
And
They want to know
people like when you kind of mess up and you laugh at yourself.
yes.
On Amberly's stage, I don't know if you heard what I said when I went up there. And I said, I was so convicted, and I said it really fast because I always say, like, one of my things that's really important to me is you need to get up, you need to suit up, and you need to show up. Do you remember what I said?
I don't remember what you said after that, but
I said when I went on stage and I'm telling my story and the whole thing, and I said, I have to get up, you have to get up, you have to suit up, and you have to shoot up.
I did hear, no, I totally remember you saying that because everyone like hooted at it. It was so funny, but we all knew exactly where your mind was at. Like in the sense, it honestly sounded awesome. I'm like, it was like an adrenaline, like pump.
Yes. So I love our conversation today. I love everything that you have shared with everyone that's listening. Some people are watching probably on YouTube as well. And I just hope today that we had people that listened, and I want to invite everyone that is listening to this today to really think after they listen, about their lives and about some of their action steps that they want to take, and really think about what Erika said. What is in alignment for you?
And there's two other quick things that I'd love to add to that. So, as an action item, do me a favor. When you get off this podcast, or maybe you're running from the gym or running to work right now, find time to actually write that down. Because when you write it down, we're 43% more likely to make it happen. Then once you're ready and that's really your action and it feels right, like it's almost like that pair of shoes that you don't buy, that you keep thinking about and you finally go back and buy them. If it's on your brain for a long time, go tell someone else that it's something you're going to do, because now you're 78% more likely to make it happen. So be committed as part of your action. You're not even doing anything. You're not setting up the podcast. You're not buying the microphone. You are literally writing it down and then you are telling someone else, and you are 78% more likely to make that happen. Coming from like someone who loves math and science, those stats get me so jolly and so excited.
I know you're about ready to jump out of your chair right now. Well, the reason why also you're probably so excited about it is because you actually take those action steps and they work for you. So take note, everybody, on what Erika is saying here.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And do it afraid. Fail
Yeah.
forward. Do it afraid. Do it messy. Everything. I tell my kids this all the time when they get frustrated. And I have to tell myself this many days because I get frustrated too. Everything is figure outable.
Yes.
Everything.
Yes. Erika, do you have any last things that are like you feel called to share or tell everyone, or anything that we may have missed today?
I just want to remind you that you were put here. We had a 1 in 700 trillion chance of being on this earth, statistically. And God created us to be who we are. And whatever God your God is not saying any sort of affiliation with any religion, whatever you believe in, we were put here for a purpose. You were not put here to just work, to retire, and to leave this earth. But there's two things I know. Change is inevitable. And at some point, we're all going to leave this earth. So let's work through the change. Let's be the change. And let's make sure that we leave our legacy each and every day, and not on our final days. Because every day you have the opportunity to sprinkle your legacy, to leave the world a little bit better than you found it. And if at the end of the day you can lay your pillow and say, I won, meaning I left more breadcrumbs for other people of confetti and goodness and left that legacy, then you've won.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Erika, for coming on today. Could you give I want to make sure the listeners, and we're going to put it in the show notes, where can they find you? Where are your places that you like to play? I'm pretty sure it's like Instagram.
Yeah, I love Instagram. I also love LinkedIn. It's a big place that I feel like a lot of people, so it is my suggestion to. It's not a place to find just a job. It is an amazing networking tool. So if you're not using it, one more tip to take action on. If you want to expand your network, great place to go. So LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and my website's always a great place.
And tell us your website. It's going to come on. We will put it in the show notes too. But
www.erika, Erika, which my mom always reminded me was strong and courageous, Rothenberger, Rothenberger, 12 letters.com.
I love it. And those of you that have listened today, I want to highly encourage you to check out the website. And on your website actually is your Audacious Women's Summit. Like there's information on there, but they can also reach out to you through your website about.
If you want to buy a ticket, if you want to learn more about the event, it's all on there. If you're interested in like just anything about my life, I'm pretty open on there.
All right. Well, I know that tickets are selling quickly because I've already heard of many people that are going and there are limited spots available. So I highly recommend anyone that has some curiosity, go on there now. Like, don't wait. Yes.
Thank
Thank you, Erika.
Thank you for allowing this safe place and for fueling so many people who are listening today, not just with my episode, but with all the episodes that are come, because I know this is your expansion right now. And it's such a beautiful thing to watch.
Thank you, Erika. I adore you. I love you. I hope today's episode sparked something in you, a shift, a realization, or even just the permission to step more boldly into the life you're meant to live. If you loved what you heard, don't forget to hit the subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling inspired, I'd love for you to leave a review. It is the best way to help more women just like you discover this show and start their own transformation. Want to dive even deeper? Connect with me. You can find me on Instagram at @thejessicapapineau or head to csjstyling.com to explore how we can work together to align your style, confidence, and the vision you have for your life. Thank you for being here, for showing up and investing in yourself. Until next time, remember, you are worthy, you are powerful, and when everything about you is in alignment with your vision, you become unstoppable.